Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Mon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leader in rushing, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. As Black Monday rolls on here, the darkness has settled in over Green. No, I'm just kidding, man. Listen, it's a rough day for us Packer fans. You guys know it was tough seeing all the injuries happen yesterday. If you were on the live stream with us earlier today, we gave you an update on Christian Watson, which was great news. Sounds like, if I had to guess, Christian may play against the Chicago Bears. Probably going to be 1 to 2 weeks, I would imagine, if we're on the conservative side. That's great news. Again, we're waiting on the details of the injury, all that stuff. So just take that with a grain of salt. That's the best we have right now. Now, obviously, the big news of yesterday, Micah Parsons leaving the game with what appeared to be an ACL. We didn't want to speculate too much, although everybody's seen the injury. Everybody talked about it like, hey, this is probably what it's going to be. I didn't see anyone pushing back on that, which, believe me, I was hoping that someone would. We have the official details there, and Micah Parsons has spoken. We'll go to his tweets, show you what he had to say. We'll also talk about what this means for the Green Bay Packers defense moving forward. And listen, guys, it's not like all doom and gloom here. It isn't. I know people want to believe that. On the surface, it was devastating. But the way people are talking about this defense, you would think this is a bottom third defense without Micah Parsons. I'm going to explain to everybody why I don't believe that's the case. And there is going to be have to have some tweaks, some adjustments made. And we'll talk about where this team finished last year in terms of defensive rankings and where they were at this year. And I think you guys will be really, really surprised. It wasn't like this crazy, oh my God, this defense has excelled to the best in the NFL with Micah Parsons. It's going to be tough without him, but we'll talk about all that, man, because he is. I think he's an emotional leader of the team. In the short amount of time that he got here, the team embraced him. He embraced the team, and I think it's going to be a big loss. Don't get me wrong. We'll dive into all that. Before we do, if you would, give me do that YouTube stuff real quick. Give me a like. Give me a subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us part of your afternoon. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We're fans just like you talking Packers on a daily basis. Breaking news throughout the day like we have today with the injury report. We got other injury news that should come down the pike pretty soon. We'll wrap this up with any information we do have there, kind of tipping us, leading us in a certain direction in terms of how the rest of these players may be healing up, hopefully sooner rather than later. But if you're looking for that type of content, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. Let's get into it. As our buddy Jordan Schultz, he actually DM'd me over this tweet as soon as he crafted it together. I think he had the information maybe even before others did, which I know it came in really, really fast, almost at the same time, if not a little bit quicker than everybody else. But Jordan Schultz over on X sent this over. Sources: an MRI confirmed a torn ACL for the Packers star Micah Parsons. His season is over. A devastating injury for Parsons, who has been having an all-pro caliber season in his first year with the team. I don't think this catches anybody by surprise, right? We expected an ACL. We talked about how the knee shifted. Emilio talked about it, who's tore his ACL before. All you got to do is take that knee, hold it stationary, move it side to side. If it moves, you basically got the ACL that's on the front of the knee that connects. If you can shift it side to side, that thing's probably snapped. And, of course, Micah said on the field he heard a pop, and everything just pointed to an ACL. So I don't think this is a huge surprise here. Now, when we talk about, as I tweeted out too, Hill Up saying, man, so glad you're a Green Bay Packer. Everybody, man, tweet at Micah. Let him know how appreciative we are for him. And I think he's still going to be somewhat involved with this team, to be honest with you. He's not going to be on the football field until next year, obviously. But I think he can still help in that regard, maybe giving some insight to teammates about, hey, let's attack them this way. Hey, look, the pass rush that way, and kind of maybe even become a second set of eyes and ears and even an extra mouthpiece there for Jeff Hafley, Coach Covington, and the whole coaching staff there on defense. So he's out for the year. Number one, we know that. Now the question is, when will he be back, right? When will he be back? We're going to talk about what Micah said about that in just a second. Let's go to the tweet that he put out first. So Micah actually spoke on X and released a statement. And how can you not love this dude? He is totally the opposite from what people, the Micah Parsons haters, tried to paint him out to be, man. Here's his tweet. He said, I may be sidelined, but I'm not defeated. This injury is my greatest test, a moment God allowed to strengthen my testimony. What a great, just a great way to attack this thing, man. It's a moment God allowed to strengthen my testimony. I believe he walks with me through this storm and chose me for this fight because he knew my heart could carry it. I'm deeply grateful to the Packers organization and my teammates for their unwavering support, love, and belief in me during this season. I trust his timing, his plan, and his purpose. I will rise again. Of course, you got the shot of him walking onto the field there in Denver, and then the shot of him with, I believe, mostly the DB group, but there's some linebackers in there too, doing that little fadeaway pregame celebration that they do during warmups. So, Micah, man, again, just a class act. And putting it all in God's hands. I love how spiritual this team is. Whether you do or don't, that's totally cool. We can agree to disagree if you don't. I love that that's what his life's kind of rooted in, as are many Green Bay Packer players on this team as well. You hear about Christian Watson all the time. You hear about Jayden Reed. He's very open about that. I mean, pretty much, I don't want to say all of them, but a large majority of the team, they're rooted in that. And I think that's a great place to be. So again, man, he's looking at this like, hey, look, this is all part of God's plan, and with his timing, his purpose, we're going to come out the other side, and we're going to be better than ever. Now, in the past, I got to be honest with you guys, I hear that, and I go, man, I love the attitude, but can you really come back better than before? Boy, Christian Watson sure did. To me, that's where the pages kind of turn in my fandom. It's like I used to look at ACLs like, okay, we can't expect them to be the same player anymore, right? ACL is a big thing. Now it seems like players are coming back stronger than ever if they have the work ethic. We know Scoot has that, and we damn sure know and believe that Micah Parsons has that as well. Now, he put out another tweet, which really fired me up. I want to see what you guys think about this one. This one kind of gave me some goosebumps, man. So you're wondering, when's he coming back, right? All right, what kind of date are we looking at here, Clayton? We've heard of some players, they've made it back in 9 months. Other players, they're not fully good to go until their second season back, right? There's some stuff that nag, this and that. Here's what Micah said. He put a tweet out, and it was really simple. All he said was September with the salute emoji and the lion emoji. And obviously he put the picture of a lion that's been through the battle, got the scar over the eye, the nose all scarred up. Micah Parsons is saying, boys and girls, get ready. Come September of 2026, I'm going to be on that football field. Will that happen? I don't know. I wouldn't bet against this guy. I mean, you see how he has perfected his craft. You've seen how he works his ass off in every sense of the word. Christian Watson would have been, I think Christian Watson would have been out there in September if the doctors had let him. And this is something that's going to come into factor as well. Now, let's compare it to Christian Watson's injury a little bit. They both tore their ACL. Now, I don't know offhand just yet. You guys may have more information than me. If you do, please fire it in the chat. That's what we're all here for, right? To learn from each other. So Christian Watson tears his in the last week of the season. Micah tears his in the week 15. So he's got a 3-week jump on Christian Watson, essentially. And everybody heals different. I know there's going to be Twitter doctors that jump in here and say, oh, you can't say. I'm not saying anything's definitive. But when you look at a September return, when did Christian Watson come back? You guys correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody in the chat as quick as possible. When did Christian Watson return? Matter of fact, I could probably just Google it myself real quick. You guys usually have it before I do. Watson ACL return. Christian Watson returned on it's a 274 days. So he returned to practice in October of 2025, right? Bates says week 8. So if he's got a 3-week jump on him, that would say week 5, which would technically be October. I wouldn't rule out Micah being out there by September. So, and I think what Bates is saying here is that's when he returned to the field was week 8, right? So, yeah, I love how Lions fans are in here. It's hilarious. You guys, boy, y'all are really down right now, aren't you, man? That's got to be a tough look. It'll be a real tough look. Y'all having kind of a bad year, ain't you, man? I'm amazed. I'm amazed you had the balls to step in here, to be honest with you, after we broke the brooms out. But there you go. Let's do this since you there it goes. I think that happened. We'll see. Yep. Oh, man, talking to himself now. All right, so September. Let me know in the chat. Do you guys think Micah can return by September? Do you think he can make it back in that time? Do you think it's going to be October? Do you think we look up in August and go, holy cow, man, he's already practicing in training camp? Rashan Gary kind of surprised us. Remember that? It was like all of a sudden we were hearing he's going to go, and we were going, yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right. Next thing you know, bang, he's activated, right? So I wouldn't bet against him. Chad Inc. in the chat says, I'm with you, Clayton, week 5 for Parsons. They'll probably be conservative. If it was up to him, he'd probably be out there in training camp, right? I think the doctors will do everything in their power to hold him out, like they did Watson. You got off to a decent start, right? So it's like, hey, we don't have to rush you back just yet, and then get him back on the field as soon as you can, right? So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm leaning into. Now let's talk about what this means for this defense, okay? I'm going to try not to go as long on this video as we did the last one. I wanted to keep it short and sweet, and it did not work out. So people are immediately, a portion of folks are saying, oh, this Green Bay Packers defense is cooked. They're cooked. They're cooked. What happened last year, guys? Let's start with this year. Where do the Packers rank in scoring defense this year? And you guys know points per play is the most important stat, in my opinion, when it comes to gauging a defense. Anybody who differs on that, we can agree to disagree. But if you're telling me you would rather give up less yards than less points, I'm sorry, I don't think you understand the rules of the game of football, right? So do all of it coincide? Absolutely it does. It all goes together, but points per play is the true gauge, in my opinion, because it doesn't just – points per game can be a little bit misleading. Not necessarily misleading, but points per play is a more fine-tuned version of points per game allowed, right? So points per play allowed, the Packers this year are 6th in the league at 0.326 points per play allowed, all right? In the last 3 games, they were at 0.409. So if you were to take their last 3 games, you'd say they're actually playing somewhere around the 20 range. So, again, what happens throughout the course of the season? Teams get tape on you. They know how to attack you. And now as a defensive staff, as a coordinator, as a positional coach, as a schemer, as a game plan designer, you've got to tweak and adjust on the fly to what other teams are doing for you. I think Jeff Hafley's gotten the last 2 games. He's looked at the tape. He's probably going to be going, okay, here's how teams are starting to attack us. Let's be ready to shift into this range, right? I could see that happening as well. So with that being said, the defense this year in 2025 is ranking 5th or 6th best in the league at 0.326. So how did they perform last year without Micah Parsons? I think it's going to surprise some people. This year, 6th, right? Last year, Green Bay was actually 5th in the league in in points per play allowed scoring defense across the entire National Football League. They were at 0.329 last year in 2024. So they were giving up 0.329 last year, 329. Let's try to remember that. And then going back this year, 0.326. So even though they're 1 rank lower this year, right, on the list, we're actually giving up just a little bit less this year than last year, to the tune of 0.326 as opposed to 0.329. And again, kind of splitting hairs here, but the point of the story, the moral of the story is last year we were right there in the same range in terms of points allowed. Now, some people will take that and go, oh, well, Michael wasn't worth the money. No. We're talking about a closer in the 4th quarter, right? Situational football, being able to make a play when you need one coming down the stretch. That stuff is huge. So in no way, shape, or form am I trying to negate what Micah's done. Micah has been dominant, arguably the best defensive player in the entire National Football League. Myles Garrett, I feel like, is a little bit above everyone else. Micah's leading that 2nd tier, in my opinion. So with that being said, I don't expect this scoring defense to all of a sudden fall into the 20s. I mean, if you sorted it over the last 3 games, guys, they're already in that range. They were already giving up 0.409. And again, I don't think it's because this defense sucks all of a sudden. I think because teams are adjusting, and now you got the other adjustment that's about to happen. Hafley talked about this in training camp, right? So that's kind of how we look on scoring. Now, let's go to the PFF side of things. And again, we know this isn't everything, but let's just hop in here real quick. In 2024, here are the players that led the Packers in terms of PFF grades, okay? So I want to kind of look at this and then switch to 2025 and see what changes. Edgerrin Cooper led the way at 85.6. If you guys notice, Edgerrin Cooper isn't blitzing as much, is he? He's not firing on those blitzes and then running more as many fire zone blitzes. What they're allowing Coop to do is drop into coverage more, right? So you turn the page back to 2024. What works so well? Simulated pressure. And again, a blitz, guys, a blitz is when you bring more than 4 rushers. Last I heard, that was the definition. In most cases, there were people parroting this line in the media, in the sports media, saying the Packers blitz a lot. They have to blitz, they have to manufacture pressure. No, they're simulating pressure with fire zone blitzes and dropping guys out into coverage. They're still just bringing 4 most of the time. So that's how we got pressure last year, by simulated pressures. Expect that to amp back up. Also expect Edgerrin Cooper to be more involved in that regard, getting at the quarterback a little bit. Quay as well. So Edgerrin Cooper led the way at 85.6. Xavier McKinney, 84.3. You remember last year, Xavier McKinney had way more interceptions. You remember last year the team had more interceptions? Now, you guys remember us talking about specifically pressure pick, coverage sack, right? And there were a portion of the fan base that would come in the chat and go, you're crazy if you think you want less sacks. Nobody's saying we want less sacks. What we're simply saying is, if you pressure the quarterback, get them off their spot, force them to rush the throw, that leads to more picks, as opposed to if 5 of those pressures where they would have been thrown into coverage end up as sacks. It's not that you don't take those sacks, but obviously the interceptions are going to go down a touch. Do not be surprised. Don't be surprised now that Micah Parsons isn't in the lineup, if all of a sudden the sack number drops a little bit, but all of a sudden the interceptions start to rise. Not guaranteeing it. There's a lot more components that go into this conversation than just saying, yep, definitively, this is what's going to happen. But don't be surprised if all of a sudden we look up in the next couple of weeks, go, I'll be dang, we'll get more interceptions. Because if Micah's not hitting home on the sack and we are getting pressure by simulating pressure and running fire zone blitzes, all of a sudden the ball is making it out at the last second, although the quarterback is off their spot and being rushed to throw the football, that could potentially happen. Right now, what's the negative side of that? Remember last year, I felt like last year scrambling quarterbacks were a little more effective against us than this year because Micah's been running them down like a freaking lion, right? That's been happening all year long. I think you'll see less cheetah packages and more of just the traditional 2 big hog mollies in the middle with 2 edge rushers. We may still go to the cheetah package, but we definitely won't be seeing that Joker 1 look unless you put like Gary standing up over the nose, or maybe I think you're going to accomplish the same thing as the Joker 1 looks that we're talking about. What I mean by Joker 1, we were running a 3-3-5 where Micah was technically the mock, but we knew he was rushing the quarterback. He's standing behind the nose tackle and rushing the A-gap. You may just start doing that with Cooper more. You may start doing that with Quay more, right? We did it yesterday with Isaiah McDuffie, and he smacked Bo Nix in the mouth, right? So you're probably going to get a little bit more of those delayed blitzes as opposed to just that 3-3-5 Joker 1 look. I think that'll come into play as well. Zane Anderson, 122 snaps, 80.8. Again, he's not the starting safety, although Evan Williams, to the best of my knowledge with Evan Williams, it sounds like the early reports are 1 to 2 weeks on Evan Williams. So we'll try to get that firmed up by the time we go live tonight at 6 p.m. Central for PTA Live, give you guys the PFF grades from the game and all that. So it sounds like Evan Williams may be 1 to 2 weeks out. That's great news in my opinion, right? Because we were a little bit concerned like, oh, crap, what's going to happen there? If Zane Anderson, if they shift the defense back a little more in regard or in the angle that we ran last year, with the simulated pressures, right? A lot of cover 6, cover 2, Tampa 2, things like that. If we go back into pressing into that a little bit, Zane Anderson was pretty effective last year, 80.8. So that's going to be who's filling in for Evan Williams. I'm not overly concerned. I think we will miss Evan Williams, but sit him for Chicago. Again, I could give a rat's ass about the Chicago Bears game. The main focus for me is making the playoffs and creating momentum with as healthy a roster as you could put together to try to go on a playoff run, create a little momentum, and get in the dance to try to do some damage. That's my focus. I'm not saying everybody else should feel like that. That's just me, my personal opinion as a fan. I think that's the way it should be approached. So Zane Anderson will be playing alongside of Xavier McKinney. If that report is true, that Evan Williams will be out 1 to 2 weeks, I believe, and don't quote me, guys, do your own research. I think it was Jacob Westendorf, I believe. I want to give credit where credit's due. I don't know 100%, but whoever, you guys do your own research. There should be a report out there somewhere 1 to 2 weeks for Evan Williams is the early indicator there. So again, Zane Anderson will fill in. I feel okay about Zane Anderson playing out there. I really do. Jair Alexander is no longer on the team. He graded out 77.3. Of course, you guys know he only played 361 snaps last year. I disagreed with the PFF grade on Jair last year. I felt like he did not play near to the level that 77 played. I kept pointing to the passer rating when targeted, specifically in man coverage. I thought Ja was pretty bad last year. Is the team better with him on it? Probably, right, at the time. But again, I don't think anybody's looking at this going, oh, no, now that Micah Parsons is hurt, we're really going to miss Jair Alexander. I just don't see it. Obviously, Jai isn't the same player. He's not healthy. It goes without saying. Rashan Gary graded out a 73 last year. This year, I want to say he's around the 69 mark. Same ballpark. Keep in mind, though, what happened early on. As we were getting Micah Parsons' feet under him early in the season, remember we had to ramp him up because he didn't practice in training camp with the holdout there, or the hold in, I should say, with the Dallas Cowboys. What happened? Rashan Gary's numbers blimped, 7.5 sacks right out of the gate. Bang, right? He was actually leading the league in sacks through 4 weeks or whatever it was. And then all of a sudden, his start to slack off and Micah's numbers jump. Why? Because you started amping up Micah's reps and you started firing Micah and letting Rashan Gary set the edge, play the run, keen on the run, little touch spy, little cage rush on the outside. That's why his numbers dipped. If you don't watch the tape, you're going, Gary's horrible all of a sudden. We were watching the tape the entire time. We kept telling you guys, Gary is playing the run well. Jeff Hafley said the same thing in his presser, although the fans that hate Gary, they will just say Jeff Hafley's lying for him. Okay, just like Joe Barry was lying for him, just like everybody. Everybody evidently, Rashan Gary's got something on these coaches that they just want to specifically lie for him. And he actually sucks at football, even though his peers voted him as the 80th best player in the National Football League last year. The guys who had to line up across from him said, yeah, he's number 80 on the top 100 list. But I'm sure the sports media guy that, for whatever reason, hates Rashan Gary, probably because he don't talk to the media much, right? I don't think that's a coincidence that Gary's not the most vocal person in the locker room with interviews. You don't see these pieces where, yeah, I sat down with Gary, give me a one-on-one interview, and the media likes to try to chip away at him a little bit. Not all of them, but there's a couple of them. You guys could probably guess who they are. So I think Rashan Gary, what you'll see, his pass rush will spike a little bit because now they're going to let him pin his ears back a little bit more, depending on the quarterback they're playing. Obviously, Caleb Williams, you want to cage rush him, try to keep him in the pocket, make him play quarterback in the pocket. You watch those throws he made in that game against the Browns. He just kept getting outside, rolling right, extending the window, 5-6 seconds to throw the ball because he's sprinting to the sideline. And you got to give him credit with that elite arm talent. When he's on the run, he's more accurate than sitting in the pocket. It's the damnedest thing I've ever seen. But that's something that'll come into play with those numbers as well. Katano Ladapo filling in only 68 snaps, 72.9. If for some reason Zane Anderson or Xavier McKinney goes down, Katan played pretty good football last year, according to PFF. Evan Williams finished with a 72.3. Now, he had 533 snaps. Zane Anderson was at 122, right? So much smaller sample size than Evan. I don't think anybody's trying to convince anyone that Zane Anderson is a better football player than Evan Williams, as the PFF grade suggests here. But I don't think there's a huge drop-off based off of the 122 snaps we've seen from Zane last year. Brenton Cox Jr., we should be getting him back soon, right? They may activate him this week. 67.2 is his PFF grade. Not bad, right? Devontae Wyatt's out for the year. Carrington Valentine, 65.5. The reason I'm showing this, guys, I want you to look at these grades, all right? Now let's shift to this year, and let's see what changes, if anything changes dramatically. The big thing that sticks out to me is actually Xavier McKinney's up to an 81.7 now, so that's pretty on par, right? Micah Parsons, 91.0, goes without saying. He is freaking dominant, right? Has been all year, would have continued to be. He will be when he returns next year, whether it's September or October. Xavier McKinney, 81.7. Edgerrin Cooper, 76.2. Tyron Hopper, 74.7. Isaiah McDuffie, 74.4. So what we're seeing across the board are the linebackers who have traditionally graded out a little bit worse and not even see much playing time. They spiked this year, right? Their grades increased. It feels like the safety grades slightly decreased, right? So why is that? Maybe they're having to check the ball down more often because Micah was hitting home so early, right? Maybe they didn't have quite enough time to try to take those shots and allow Xavier McKinney to bait them in that regard. But also the stack backers seem to spike on grade, right? They look a little bit better on tape. So that's something that kind of sticks out to me. Evan Williams, steady Eddie, he's right there in that same range, 71.9. And of course, Katano Ladapo, Katano Ladapo's got 2 snaps so far this year, guys. That's it, right? Lucas Van Ness, 70.9. I'm just saying, watch out for LVN. 13% pressure rate before this week. I don't know what the numbers are now, but 13% pressure rate going into this week. He's going to get more snaps now that Micah's out, right? I'm not saying he's going to be Micah Parsons, but you're going to go back to the type of defense you ran last year. I feel pretty good about where we're at, man. Carrington Valentine, 68.8. Rashan Gary, 68.7. Right there, like I said, he was 73 last year, 68.7 this year. Notice the pass rush grade this year, 60.6, but the run defense grade, 73.4. Watch that pass rush grade. Don't be surprised if in the next couple of weeks, all of a sudden, Rashan Gary, oh, where's he been? Why wasn't he doing this when Michael was on the field? It's called scheme, right? It's not a guarantee. He may have hit the wall, and this might be his last year with the Packers. I may be proven wrong in a couple of weeks. I'm just talking about some of the things that popped to me in difference from last year's defense to this year's defense, with the mention that, like we said, the scoring defense is not much different. You're talking about 0.003 difference in points per play allowed. This defense is not going to fall apart like some people think it's going to. Now, if you're down Evan Williams, if you're down Quay Walker, you're already down Devontae Wyatt, that stuff, now you're down Micah Parsons, that stuff will pile up. It goes without saying, right? But if everybody's healthy other than Micah for the most part, minus Devontae Wyatt, I expect us to go out there and compete. I think people are writing this team off already, and it's going to be interesting to see how they respond. It really is. So, all right. So there's that. Wanted to hit that for you guys and gals. Just to kind of point out some of the players. Does that make sense in the chat, guys? Does that make sense how you can look at 2024's defense, 2025's defense, see some of the tendencies kind of flip with the emergence of Micah Parsons and kind of understand now we got to adjust. I'm not saying you switch the scheme straight back to what we did in 2024. I think just a slight adjustment, and you might start to bend a little bit in the direction of 2024. And it just feels like people have convinced themselves that we had a bad defense in 2024, and that just was not the case. It was not the case at all. So that's what I wanted to talk about here, give you guys the update from Micah Parsons, let you know exactly where he's at. He released that statement. He plans on being back September next year. I would not rule him out. I would not write him off. I really wouldn't. And that's what we got on Micah Parsons. So now we could turn the page on the Micah injury, start to press in a little bit more of what it means for the future or the remainder of the 2025 season and on into 2026 as we go into the playoffs. Also, the Packers' playoff hopes or playoff chances. Some people are convinced, I say they're convinced. You hear some people tweet, you hear some people talking, you think, oh, well, there goes our playoff hopes. No, as it sits right now, the Packers have an 89%, I think it was 89. It was either 87 or 89. You guys do your own research. 89% chance of making the playoffs. I talked about you can lose the next 2 weeks and beat the Vikings, and you're still in as the number 7 seed. Should we do that? No. We should try to run the damn table, try to fight for that number 1 seed, win the North, and let's just, next man up. Let's keep this truck moving. Let's go into next year hoisting the Lombardi with Micah coming back healthy, and we're the Super Bowl favorites. That would be awesome because this team played damn good football in the first half against Denver. I think that with a week of preparation and guys getting practice reps and being kind of geared up and ready to go against the Chicago Bears, everybody is riding the Packers off against the Bears. I'm going to do this. I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it live. I'm not going to put it on the screen. I want to check one thing, and then we'll wrap up. I want to know if the odds have been released yet for the games next week. Give me just a second. Week 16. Do we have odds yet according to PFF? I don't think we do on PFF. Anybody in the chat, Bates, you may be able to help me with this if you're in here. Anybody in the chat, do we have the odds? Is there a line yet for Packers? Holy cow. Packers Bears next week, guys. Somehow, some way, right now the line is sitting. The Packers are 1.5 point favorites. There you go. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate you, man. Packers favored by 1.5. That's just wild to think about. It really is. Because you go to social media, you turn on First Take, you turn on all the ESPN, even ESPN with Sky, it's like, oh boy, And the Bears fans think they've got this one in the bag. They think this game, oh yeah, they're winning this game. And they may. And if they do, it's not the end of the world. I kind of had us splitting once we seen the Bears emerge. They're playing good football. But boy, oh boy, the Packers somehow beat them. That's going to be a blast. That's going to be a blast. Thank you, Bates. Appreciate you, buddy. All right. That's it, guys. We're out of here. I want to hear from you guys. If you're watching this video back later, let us know in the comments. How do you feel about Micah Parsons saying he'll be back September of next year? What do you think about my take on last year's defense, this year's defense? Slight schematic change. You're going to miss Micah. You can't replace a generational talent like he is. But how do we feel about this defense moving forward? We want to hear from you guys in the comments. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. We may go live again before the show tonight. The plan is 6 p.m. Central for PTA Live. We'll look at the PFF grades, who stood out in that game, maybe who didn't play as well, and we'll start to kind of press into next week as well with the Bears coming up. A lot of playoff implications on the line. So greatly appreciate everybody jumping in here on short notice. Y'all have a wonderful day. My name's Clayton. This is PTA. Go Pack Go.
Here we go. We're out.
Bye, guys.